Darren, thank you. He pitched in $5 for this one. He said, "I'm new to this show. This question has probably been asked. What
Okay.
80s territory guy would RVD most have liked to wrestle? I'd have liked to see him up against Valentine." Well, you did wrestle Valentine, right?
Believe it or not, I've wrestled Greg Valentine a lot. And you know what else? He lives literally like a mile from my house.
No shit.
Yeah. And I always forget and I never see him. Like every 5 or 6 months, I'll be like, oh yeah, because someone will mention, doesn't Greg Valentine live in Vegas? And I'm like, fuck, that's right. And usually I'll call him and leave him a message. Dude, I'm gonna stop by with a doobie or something sometime, man. Let me know when you're in town. Another 6 months will go by. I'll either see him on the road or someone will bring it up, and I'll be like, oh, that's right, I forget. But yeah, he's in a neighborhood very close to us, and we know his next door neighbor is a photographer of ours.
Really?
Small world. It's a small world after all. So in the 80s, I wrestled Bobby Fulton. I wrestled Manny Fernandez. Wrestled Denny Brown, who not as many people would know, but I'll leave that up to you. Buddy Lee Parker. What other 80s wrestler? Well, did I wrestle Tommy Rogers? He was a good friend of mine. Tommy.
Fantastic, right? He was fantastic.
Yeah, him and Tommy. Tommy and Bobby.
Yep. Oh,
Fulton.
that. Yep. Hold me up.
Yeah, good dude, man. Sorry to lose him when he when he passed. He used to be my guy in Hawaii that I would always see when I'd be in Hawaii and loved hanging out with him. Someone that comes to mind is, but I guess he wasn't. I don't know if he was in the 80s. Yes, he was, right? So I'm going to say Sid Vicious.
He came in the '80s. Like I think, yeah,
So I did wrestle him once as Matt Burns. A lot of people know this. Me and I believe the dude was Scott Casey, or was it Casey Thompson? Casey Thompson, I think. I think Scott Casey was Eddie Mansfield's friend from back in the day. I think Casey Thompson was the guy that got squashed with me. Against Sid, that match was nothing. We were there for the payday, whatever. Not counting that, I was going to wrestle him in, I don't know if it was Paris, somewhere for AWR when we were over there. We had great tours over there in AWR. Sid was on a tour, and the first night in, he hurt himself. Clotheslined X-Pac so stiff in the face that his whole bicep was blue. I don't know if it was torn or just bruised. It was completely purple and blue for the whole tour. So he was babying it and stuff. He was supposed to wrestle me at the end of it, towards the end of it. I was really looking forward to that match at that time.
Wow.
He wasn't. He was like, man, I don't think I can do it, man. I don't know. I'm like, no, bro, trust me, it's going to be the best match you've ever had. I felt like that. I'm wrestling Bam Bam Bigelow not that long before One Man Gang, all these giants and stuff, and I really liked Sid as the monster of intensity that he was. And I was thinking, this is, and at that point, I had that competitive spirit in me, that fight in me, that to where I just knew, bam, this was going to be a great match. And I was looking so forward to it, not even knowing what I was going to do. I just knew that about it. Our chemistry was going to be fantastic. And he kept saying, I don't know, man, I don't know if I'm up for, when it comes down to the showtime, he went to the boss, said he wasn't feeling up to working with me. Got the match switched back to X-Pac. And then all the match was, much to X-Pac's surprise, which you found out live in action. The bell rings. Sid went over, kicked him in the gut, power bombed him, and held him down for a 3 count. That was the whole match. And Sid went home.
Whoa.
I'm not talking bad about Sid. I was just really going to take care of him. We were going to have a great match. But hey, you know, when you don't feel like you're 100%, that can really do a lot to you mentally, which then in turn you feel physically, and your spirit feels it. He didn't have the spirit in him to do that, but I always regretted that. So that just pops in my mind when you ask, you know, who would I like to have a match with? I still think that match would have been pretty awesome. So, so I think that's my answer. If we can count him as a '80s wrestler.
Yeah, I totally think so.
And, you know, he doesn't get credit for being that great of a wrestler. Like, no one's bragging about him. They say he can't, you know, some less than nice things have been said about him. And I take pride in really, you know, having people's best matches, taking their finishes the best, being, you know, selling their shit better than everyone else does and making them look better than everyone else does. And that's the JOB right there.
Right. Do you think in a way like he did that like to almost kind of like protect you? So like he didn't squash you necessarily and he just wanted to kind of get the match over with and have something and get out of Dodge? Not that it was like the right thing to do.
No, because there's no way he was going to squash me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We were going to, yeah, I wouldn't have, you know, like I really cared a lot back then. And I would have stretched that match out to be, you know, to where all the fans were like, holy fuck, that is the best match I've ever seen Sid have. You know, that's what I had in mind.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Do you think he was like he got it switched to X-Pac so he didn't squash you? You know?
He got it switched because he didn't. He was acting as if working with me is somehow a greater sense of a physical requirement than working with somebody else.
Okay.
And a lot of people think that, you know. PJ, Just Incredible, used to always say at ECW, do you think I have what it takes to work a match with you, Rob? Like, do you think I'd have a good match with you? And, you know, I mean, for real, you think we'd have a good match? And what Sid was saying leading up to that he didn't feel like he was going to be up to it because his arm was hurting him so much. Mm-hmm. And he thought that he really, my belief is that he really thought he had to be in 110% physical shape, that our match had to be really stiff because I'm known for that, and that we were going to have to fucking work our asses off and fight everywhere with tables and chairs. And I think in his mind, he had himself worked up into thinking that a match with me was going to be a greater amount of spent energy, exhaustion, physical exertion. And so to change it, he just wanted an easy night and wanted to just get in and do his appearance and get out of there.
Yeah. Okay.
We also had a helicopter take him before that show. He had a helicopter take him from town C to D when the rest of us rode the bus, and we met him there because he was hurt, already hating the bus ride. See, he wanted to come back to WWE, and I totally believe that he thought if he did this tour, that it would get his name out there. WWE would want to use him again. I really think that's what it was about. And man, when you're on 10-hour bus rides, you're not always going to be able to make it to the gym. You're not always going to be able to eat the best food. And he wasn't looking for any of that shit. He was like, fuck that. I got to work out. You know, if I can get me a helicopter there, I'll meet everyone else there after I, you know, take care of me. And then he just, like I said, went home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I respect the monster that he is, and think that would have been a cool match for me to have under my belt that I really don't.
And it's neat too, like we just mentioned you fighting Nash back in the day. That's neat to kind of go back and like, wow, those guys crossed paths that early in their careers and stuff like that. And so that would be a neat kind of thing to have on there for sure.